Welcome to the webinar. This is Kim Trellicott, and I will be your host today. I manage the Connecticut Green Lodging Program for the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. Okay. Here's our agenda for the webinar today. I'm just going to do a brief introduction and give you a little background on the Connecticut Green Lodging Program. And the vast majority of our time will be spent with Ronnie Q from In by the Sea, who has a lot of great ideas for us about how to promote our sustainable lodging facilities. Just some points of reference. The questions can be entered at any time up in the upper right corner on the screen if you have questions, and we will take them at the end of Ronnie's presentation. So anytime you feel a question, go ahead and write it in and send it to us, and we'll just take them in order as we go at the end. I want to give a special thanks to the Northeast Waste Management Officials Association for making this webinar possible and allowing us to use their webnet. And they will have this webinar available on the NUMOA website after today if you'd like to let someone else know about it who didn't get a chance to attend. Okay, the Connecticut Green Lodging Program began in 2009 as a partnership between the Connecticut Departments of Energy and Environmental Protection and the Community and Economic Development Office of Tourism. It offers to Connecticut lodging facilities the benefits of enhanced environmental performance, such as a reduction in energy costs, conservation of water, and a less toxic work environment. The diversity of the landscape in Connecticut is reflected in our certified hotels, of which you are seeing a few. From mid-sized hotels with marinas and spas along the coast to inland bed and breakfasts, the choices for green lodging are many. The program has been structured to work for any size of facility, and our certified hotels range from a 5-bedroom bed and breakfast to a casino hotel that has more than 400 rooms. That's probably one of my favorite things about the program is there are ways to attain points no matter what size of a facility you are. Certification is achieved by completion of an online workbook showing a total of 100 points in more than 14 areas, and it lasts for 2 years, at which facilities can apply if they would like to be recertified. There's more details about this available on our web page, which is listed at the top, or you can send me an email if you have any specific questions about the program. And that's all I'm going to spend time talking about my program because I really want to give the time to Ronnie for her message from In by the Sea. Ronnie, let's see, do right click. Okay. Trying to switch this presentation. Rachel, are you on? I can't seem to get her to come up.
Okay, let me...
attendee list. Can you turn it over to her from your side?
Yep, Ronnie, I just sent you a link there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, great. Okay, Ronnie, I can't hear you, but I can see your screen.
That help?
Ronnie, are you on? You might have to enter your audio pin if if you haven't already. I don't know, it's showing you the phone is not on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
You can hear me now?
Yep.
Great. Oh, good. Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me. Sorry about that. Can I move that over here, I think? Good. So thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be here, and let's get to it because for some reason this isn't working now. Okay, maybe I'll do it this way since it doesn't seem to be working the other way. I'm not sure why the slideshow won't work. So what I'd like to talk about today, can you see my screen in the short version?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. What I'd like to talk today is just a little bit about what's expected of a green hotel, the understanding of what sustainable hospitality is, and then just how some of the travel trends play into driving profit for green hotels, and then a little bit about what we've done at the Inn by the Sea. So what is a green hotel? You know, 10 or 11 years ago when we started down this path at the Inn by the Sea and I would talk to other hoteliers, it was really about people who were considered innovators and they had reductions around water, waste, energy, and chemicals. And today it has changed enormously. 11 or 12 years later, sustainability and the concept of the triple bottom line is really understood. We're no longer seen as great innovators if we just reduce water, waste, energy, and chemicals on property. As a matter of fact, guests at our hotels expect us to take care of our environment. It's really an expectation now. Now we're also expected to preserve the sense of place, celebrate all things local, support our local communities, and also educate the staff and guests on sustainability. So to be a green hotel today is really, you know, the expectation is huge. But the term green hotel really has some meaning. So in the past, these were the ANH guidelines for green hotels, and they really focused on water, waste, energy, and chemicals. And of course, that still remains the center of what it is to be a green hotel today. Is it good for the planet? You bet it is. This was a slide that was done 2 years ago by the Environmental Leader Program in Maine, and it really showed what 100 hotels had in terms of reductions for those hotels, and it added up to a lot. But in terms of marketing and being profitable, does that really drive business? I don't really think it does. I think unless people are incredibly eco-minded, talking about your reductions in water, waste, energy, and chemicals, they are important. I'm not belittling them. But that isn't really what engages the guest or puts heads in beds. So what does? Well, you know, So what does? The National Geographic Traveler came out with something called the Stay List a few years ago, and it really described what it is to be a green hotel. It talked about hotels really reflecting their surroundings and helping them to find them. It was about locally inspired architecture, great stories around local food, also respecting the environment, reducing water waste and chemicals on property, but to travel well, we believe, is to soak up authenticity, and where we spend the night is part of the picture. Does your hotel incorporate and share the soul of its location? And does it put food on the table that's local? Does the property play a vital role in the community? All of those things are really what makes up a green hotel today. And that's where the marketing piece is. That's how we benefit, is really sharing the soul of our location and celebrating all things local. So, you know, do the trends today support this concept? Is this really how we can drive profit? And I believe they do. Here's the Travel Market Report. They had 5 main trends. They said that travelers were really looking for authentic travel experiences. They were very interested in health and wellness and education. The LOHAS group, really interested in health and wellness, green cleaning products plays into that, education, very interested in local food, believing that local food that you put on the table is much healthier. Interest in sustainability, it's much more understood, but interested in things that really are cool, that engage them, that are fun, whimsical, that really impact their lifestyle, not just about sheet and towels, not just about light bulbs. And that plays into searching for meaning, looking for value, looking for fulfillment, and wanting to give back. The concept of wanting to give back works with both leisure travels and with business. The fifth trend, of course, discussed technology. You can't have a trend report without talking about, the mobile platform and cell phones and everything that we're able to do, and people searching for their travel experiences on the website and then talking about them together on TripAdvisor or sharing experiences on Facebook. We can't get overwhelmed by the technology, and this would be another whole marketing seminar. If we can create a great story about your property that's green, a great story about your commitment to sustainability, this is an opportunity to have many platforms to send that story out. So look at it as an opportunity. And I just wanted to touch on the business aspect of environmental awareness on travel. If given a choice, most business people will choose a green hotel. But what this survey told us was that they're not quite sure about what it is that we're saying about sustainability, and only 8% of people find it easy for a corporate meeting to find a green hotel, which tells me that we're not doing a great job of marketing what we're doing around sustainability. And they also would like to know what it is that we're doing that really impacts their lifestyle, that connection again. So last trend report, TripAdvisor, we all use TripAdvisor. Every year it ticks up a little bit, more and more people wanting to travel green. Again, they're still confused about what it is that we're really doing. And they say that they would like to actually experience what we're doing or witness it or be involved with it so they could really get into it. That's how interested they are in sustainability. They're not finding that it's all that easy for them to do at hotels. And some of them say that they would like us to have a certification, because then they'd have a better idea of what it is that we're doing. So just 1 second on certifications. These are some of the national programs that have really risen to the top, in my opinion. There are many other great programs out there. I do find that national programs often cost a lot, often take a lot of time, and my favorite programs are the ones, the state and regional programs. Some of them are run, by different organizations, but they're terrific in that they're local, they're relevant, they get people together like this today so that we can share ideas. They're usually at low cost. It's not that it doesn't require a little bit of effort. It does. My environmental leader research is sitting on my desk waiting for the maintenance people to answer a couple of questions. It's worth it. Do it. They're terrific programs. I love them. They're my favorite programs. And then the last trend that I'm going to talk about, this was from the Global Eco Summit. Again, connecting travelers to local people, enriching experiences, traditions, cultural, natural environment, looking for the authentic travel experience, and then looking for ways to give back. That's where I think the marketing value is, and that's what I'm really going to talk about. So this idea of giving back, there's some wonderful stories about giving back that I could get into, but one of my favorite programs is done in Maine. It's done by the Maine Innkeepers Association. It's a very simple program. Well, simple for innkeepers. Greg Dougal is actually the one who has to run the program. It's called Hospitality for Habitat. And it really is a win-win for your guests. It engages them. It gives back to the community. It's very simple. In April and May in Maine, which is usually considered mud season, we don't have that many visitors coming through. We will give the participating innkeepers, offer guests a 50% reduction on their room rate simply by writing a $35 one check for the duration of stay, check for Habitat for Humanity. It's a win-win, as Greg Dougal likes to say, because the innkeepers get a lot of travelers coming through. It increases travel during a traditional slow period in Maine. The guests get to stay at a whole lot of really wonderful Maine resorts, B&Bs, and inns that they might not otherwise do. 2 years ago, I think we had 112 room nights out of this, so it really helped us with stays during a slow period. But the Maine innkeepers have raised over $100,000 by engaging guests, engaging innkeepers in this program to put Maine families into houses. So it has a great impact. You can also do it in your restaurant. We've done it with Share Our Strength. But I also want to say the innkeepers benefit from this enormously. We've gotten, over the years, a lot of publicity around Habitat for Humanity. You know, just lots of articles, lots of attention for the inn. When you get media interested in what it is that you're doing, then you put heads in beds and you can benefit in a real way. So that's the question. Is marketing a green hotel really worth it? Do you have a competitive edge? And I'm here to say, obviously, that I think we do, but there was a very small shot into this, how clear this is that you do have a marketing edge. When Travelocity launched their website in the first quarter, they reported that the bookings for green hotels were 65% higher than for their non-green counterparts. And that says to me that, again, if we make it easy for people to find your green hotel, if you market yourself as a green hotel, the majority of businesses and people will pick a green hotel. So there is a competitive edge. And then in terms of getting media attention, in terms of engaging the guests so that they're talking about you, Facebooking you, and talking about what it is you're doing and getting involved in your environmental message, create a great story about what it is that you're doing that engages the guest and makes it easy for media to write about you. That connection for the guest will make it more memorable. The story should be authentic and really work with your property. Don't come up with something that doesn't work for you. Make sure that it works with your property. Use a regional icon. Go to your parks and find out what they're doing. They need support for marketing their programs because their budgets have all been slashed. You know, work with your regional producers and people that are in your neighborhood. Talk about something that's a regional icon, and then you know, people will write about you. Make sure that your staff understands what it is that you're doing. And I have to point out this adorable baby bunny. This is a New England cottontail. The inn is doing a collaborative effort with the Department of Conservation to have habitat restoration. So I'll talk about that in a second. But isn't he cute? Doesn't that engage you? Who couldn't resist telling a story about a bunny? So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we've done at the inn that has worked for us, and hopefully you'll be able to take something out of it that you can do for your property. I apologize to the people who have heard me speak before because I am going to start at the beginning with a couple of the original things that we did and then move on. So we almost fell into this by accident. 12 years ago, I came to or 11 years ago, I came to the inn, and there was a really forward-thinking gardener here. As you can see, if we go back to this slide, the Inn by the Sea is located between a 125-acre pond and the Atlantic Ocean on the other side. And the inn was blanket spraying the property to keep the grass green. We had 1 million exotic plants put in, and you needed to put chemicals into the ground to keep them green. We were spraying for bugs. And, you know, it was just this big puddle of chemicals that would probably flow into the pond and into the ocean. And the gardener said, enough. These plants don't even look like they belong in Maine. Let's rip them all out. Let's put in gardens that create habitat and food sources for local wildlife. Stop spraying. He put in nesting boxes and feeding stations for birds to handle the bugs, and he reduced water, he reduced chemicals, and he planted a whole lot of plants. When you drive into the inn now, instead of things that look like they belong in Florida, you arrive to pine trees, and you arrive to blueberry bushes and all kinds of shrubs that look like they are part of the sense of place in Maine. And what happened was people became very interested in what he was doing. They started coming to garden tours to learn about planting for wildlife. And then we went and we got our certification as a backyard wildlife habitat, and we sent out press releases on that, and we got lots of media attention. And then he formalized it into really these seminars on how to have ever-blooming gardens that create habitat and food sources for wildlife. He put in nectar gardens, and we became involved with the endangered monarch butterfly and put in lots of milkweed. And we became a butterfly way station, and we got lots of publicity about that. And what we learned from that was we would have even, 3 garden tours going in a single day with 75 people learning about how to plant for wildlife, and they would all stay and eat, or they would spend the night at the inn. And what we learned was that we were profitable. from doing something good for the planet. And so that was sort of the core of what really set us up for moving forward on this idea. We turned Elkington, the concept of people, planet, profit, a little bit on its head, because the people part of this, normally with Elkington, it is about sharing your profits and treating people well. What we've done with the people is we said, how can we engage people in the environmental message with fun or whimsy so that they're interested in sustainability? The planet piece, well, we're using less water, we're not putting chemicals into the gardens, and we've created habitat for food sources, and we've derived profit. So we continued down that path. And what we discovered with the certifications was that the certifications really helped with spreading our environmental message. And then we also understood from that first thing that we did that if you go out and find people who are bigger than you, get a certification, or collaborate with someone who is bigger than you, you can help spread your message, you'll get media attention, and you'll put heads in beds. So one of the first collaborations that we really did, other than certifications, was we went out and found somebody much bigger than we were, and that was the Carbon Fund. We decided that in 2006 that we wanted to be the first carbon neutral hotel in Maine. And so I called Craig Coulter at the Carbon Fund and I said, what can we do that would really be part of who we are? So we found a reforestation project in the mid-Atlantic to give our offsets to. And we created something called carbon-free meetings and carbon-free vacations. And guests could donate to the reforestation project, and they would receive a luggage tag with the Carbon Fund logo on it saying they'd had a carbon-free meeting or a carbon-free vacation. In 2007, Al Gore won the Academy Award for Inconvenient Truth, and the Carbon Fund offset the Academy Awards. They had a newsletter that went out to thousands and thousands of people that we could never reach as the Inn by the Sea. We were 43 rooms at the time. The first story was about Inconvenient Truth and the Academy Award. The third story was the incandescent light bulb has been banned. And right in the middle of this was the Inn by the Sea and the story about their initiative. It went out to thousands of people. We got tons of media coverage, and we really got a lot of notice for that, for having somebody who was bigger who could help pass on our environmental message. Another huge person that we partnered with was Sam's Club was doing an eco makeover with solar voltaic and wind turbines, and we just called and we said, hey, we want to be part of this. We have some green initiatives here. Why don't you send the people who are having the home makeover done to the Inn by the Sea? And we were in 10 million brochures, spreading the environmental message, also putting heads in beds. So we got a lot of attention from various publications. Gary Lee of the Washington Post was on the mailing list for that Carbon Fund. He came to the Inn, did a front page story on the Environmental Leader Program in Maine, on the carbon offsets, and on the Inn by the Sea, which was terrific. And we continue to get stories with the Gazette, where we were in CNN's, part of these roundups all the time. So, but it has to be right across the property. It has to go right across your property. It has to be understood everywhere on your property. So we did a lot of things. One of the things that we did with these programs, again, was we added something called the Bugs Life program to the garden tours. And this was for children. This is part of the education piece. And parents love this. Kids dress up like bugs. They wander around the 5 acres of the property. They learn about ecosystems. They learned about endangered monarch butterflies. Now they're learning about endangered New England cottontails in our habitat restoration project. What we learned about this was, yes, do something good for the planet. Engage your guest in something fun and whimsical, which we were doing with the Bugs Life, but have great photography as well. We thought this was going to be a one-year program. Apparently, the media cannot resist adorable pictures of children dressed like bugs. It speaks volumes about the commitment from the Inn by the Sea to the environment, and it really helps spreading the word. We've been getting stories for 11 years. This continues to be a program at the Inn, and people keep writing about it. So it has to be right across your property. It really has to be understood. If you go into our restaurant, we do serve sustainable seafood. We have cars that pick up our oil. We source locally. We have a small garden on site. There are a lot of things going on in the kitchen. But that isn't how we engage the guest. It's really about great stories around local food. You know, if you order the mushroom tart, we tell you about Rick Tibbetts, our fungi forager. He goes into the Maine woods. He lives in Cape Elizabeth. He walks into the inn with his cardboard box. He dumps the mushrooms out on the counter. They're fresh. They're local. He picks up his cardboard box and walks out again. Couldn't be more sustainable. You can see the fishing boats bobbing on the horizon when you're sitting in the dining room. Maine scallops on a bed of parsnips puree, and we tell you that the parsnips come from the farm next door. They even grow under the snow. On Wednesday nights, we celebrate all things local. The chef has an al fresco dinner. It's done at a farmer's table, and we cook whatever is growing at the local farms with sustainable seafood from a dayboat catch. So it's really about the excitement around the local food, the local stories. And then we package that as well. So we have a package where we send you out onto a lobster boat. It's an authentic lobster boat. You catch the lobster. You can eat your lobster. You can have a 5-course lobster tasting menu at the inn. It really engages the guest in stories about the local economy and people that are here. So some of the things that we do in Sea Glass, of course, we list the names of farmers and the producers on the menus. On Thursday nights, this is about exposing the soul of your location. This is about connecting the guest to local people. We invite local vendors, local producers in to talk about the Maine experience. They bring a little booze or whatever they want. They have tastings. We've had lobster fishermen come in and talk about, you know, fishing in Maine. We've had the Gulf of Maine Research Institute, were here a couple of weeks ago, talking about how the fishing industry is struggling in Maine and the importance of underutilized seafood. We've had people who make whoopie pies come in and talk about the Maine experience and running a business in Maine. So all about the Maine experience, exposing the soul of our location, but also supporting our local people. We have the farm to table I told you about. In the winter, we have a giving tree. We work with our state representatives. We work with a bunch of local schools. The schools send us Children Maine ornaments for the tree. We collect warm clothes for the food shelters, and we also, the kids make bookmarks, and the schools tell us what books are needed, and we sell those wonderfully painted, colorful bookmarks that the kids make for $10, and we buy books for the schools. The guests are terribly engaged. They want to give back. They love it. And of course, people write about all of these programs in Sea Glass. They are very popular, and it gives the media something to write about, and it drives people to us. So Global Traveler this summer did a story. They wrote about everything that was going on in Sea Glass around sustainable. Then they talked about the spa. And so as I said, you know, it has to be everywhere. The spa has a Silver LEED certification. And we have recycled rubber floors and recycled cork floors, low VOC carpeting, all of those things. But that's really not what engages media or engages the guest. It's the sense of place treatments. We have a sea waves massage done in an undulating bed that replicates the ebb and flow of the ocean, synchronized massage strokes. You've got surf surround sound, natural marine-based product, Maine mud, sea salt, all of that. People love writing about it. The guests love feeling that they're really in Maine. It really talks about Maine and what we've got going on. So just excites people. This, you know, great story in American Spa, and then this week in Organic Spa. So, you know, another way to engage the guest in your environmental program and what you've got going on, and this is the oldest program that probably people have recognized in the hotel industry, your sheet and towel reuse program. It's often very unpopular. Sometimes we in the hotel industry don't do it well. We've all hung up our towels and had them replaced anyway. But people feel as if you're taking something away. I have been suggesting for the last 10 years that people tie something that's a regional icon, something that brings people to your hotel and needs help. Maybe it's a museum. Maybe you're on the Adirondack Trail and you can do a trail cleanup. Something that is going to engage them and something they care about. To you, the savings from your sheet and towel program. Because of the wonderful gardens that Derek created. We've got 1 million monarchs on property. It's very much a part of the guest experience. We were giving money back to Alternari and to open spaces and to migration routes for the monarchs. But now we have done this collaboration on habitat restoration with the Department of Conservation, Department of Parks and Land, Rachel Carson. That in itself is quite amazing. We went bunny tracking in the woods with a bunch of Rachel Carson and wardens and rangers last year and discovered that right next door to the inn we found that we picked up scat and got DNA for 89 different bunnies. So we have the mother lode of these endangered bunnies. There are only about 450 of them left. So we've worked with the Department of Conservation to create a perfect habitat, over 2 acres of thatch. We pulled out, and we continue to pull out, bamboo, which had completely taken over this area, and bittersweet, and have replanted it with bayberry and dewberry and blueberries and strawberries and all the things that bunnies like. And hopefully in a couple of years we will have a perfect habitat for bunnies. But who can't resist a bunny? If you can tie your sheet and towel program to something that has fur and big eyes, that's great. I put the Connecticut panther there because I spoke a couple of years ago to a NERA event, and somebody from a Connecticut hotel did call and say that they'd tied their sheet and towel program to the Connecticut panther. I was very jealous because we were working with an insect and he had a panther, but now we've managed to come up with something that I think is irresistible. And of course people do write about, this is all about the butterflies, this is about the butterflies. Boston Magazine wrote about the butterflies, and now people are starting to write about the bunnies. We don't have any thatch. It's going to take 2 or 3 years for this. You see, and even meetings, people are interested in this, for the bunny hatch to get going, but at Easter we'll have a field day with it, drives stories about the inn, speaks volumes about your commitment to the environment. And this is something that everybody can do. The bunny rabbit habitat, I have to say, was a very expensive program. I'm not recommending that to everybody. It's costing us literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. But this is something that anybody can do to celebrate that sense of place, to really, do something with your do not disturb sign that either speaks to your sense of place. You can do it with fun and whimsy. Maybe, again, you speak to a program that you're supporting, to really engage the guest. This was in Virtuoso Life. They did an article on really cool do not disturb signs. You can see that this one is from China. It really speaks to the sense of place. This is from California. And here we have the lobster. Supporting the lobster industry, really, having fun with it. It's our do not disturb at the Inn by the Sea. So just, an easy way. So, packaging around sense of place really is another great marketing move because it sets up natural barriers to competition. I've talked about this program at the Lenox Hotel. If you go to their website, they've got some great sense of place packaging, really supporting a lot of local people and vendors, really engaging the guest in the soul of their location. But what this is you go out on an urban adventure tour in Boston and you look at the historic sites in Boston and you get a bottle of organic wine. It speaks volumes about the commitment to reductions in water waste and chemicals on the property of the Lenox Hotel, which they were leaders in this, but it also engages the guest, gets media attention, but it sets up barriers to competition for all of us. I cannot do, at the Inn by the Sea, a bicycle tour of Boston's historic sites. And Ted Saunders can't do a Bugs Life coastal tour on the beach and around the gardens at the Inn by the Sea. So it really does set up unique travel experiences for people. It gives people a reason to travel. And the media love it. This was the Robb Report this summer, and they were talking about the Lucky Catch package, sending people out in a lobster boat. They were also talking about our foodie package where you tour different places in Portland, American Way, our LL Bean package with snowshoeing, and then just a couple of days ago this appeared in Travel and Leisure. We're doing a package supporting the Portland Museums of Art's Winslow Homer show of Winslow Homer art that he painted 3 miles from the inn when he was at Prout's Neck. So couldn't be more sense of place, and it supports our hotel. So now this is our new thing. I would like you to think about something else that you can do that collaborates with some of your competitors to have an even bigger impact on the environment or on your community. This is the program that we're involved with right now. It is an underutilized seafood program. It's a collaboration with Maine fishermen, hotels, restaurants to really bring attention to the Maine fishing industry and underutilized seafood. The Maine fishing industry, as you probably know, as has a lot of fisheries, been impacted by the overfishing in the Gulf of Maine. And something like the cod fishery was just reduced again this year by 27%. So the fishermen are really struggling to bring in enough fish to make a living. And I cannot imagine Maine without a fishing industry. It would be a terrible thing, and it would really impact tourism. So this has been a wonderful program. A couple of years ago, we sat down with the Gulf of Maine Research Institute and their research. There's a steering committee with 3 chefs and a bunch of fishermen and the research from the Gulf of Maine. And we looked at all of the different fish that are in the Gulf of Maine that were the Gulf of Maine is managed, and these fish were being brought in at, say, 10 or 15%. And so the concept here is to expand people's palates. And instead of demanding cod or haddock, which, by the way, we don't serve monkfish, but we also don't serve cod or haddock at the Inn by the Sea. We only serve underutilized seafood. And this was such a wonderful exercise. The fishermen would say, well, these fish are abundant. And the Gulf of Maine research would say, well, we're only taking them out at 10%, and we're only getting this for dock prices, very low dock prices. And the chefs would say, ooh, that's not good eating. We don't want to deal with those. And then the chef would say, well, what about this species? And the Gulf of Maine would say, that's a great species. We're only taking it out at 10%, very low dock prices. And the fishermen would say to us, ooh, no, that has a 30-year lifespan, or we have to go too far out for it, and we'd move on. We finally found 5 species that really excited the chefs, that were underappreciated, underutilized, that the fishermen know are abundant in the Gulf of Maine, that they could bring in, and that's what we're serving in sea glass. We had a kickoff last year at Harvest on the Harbor, which was the Convention and Visitors Bureau Food and Wine Festival, and we had 5 chefs cooking the 5 species, fabulous recipes, getting people excited about these species that aren't cod and haddock. The concept of this is that you give the overfished fisheries a break, and you get people to really enjoy and demand fish that is in abundance that the fishermen can bring in. The Gulf of Maine Research did these beautiful recipe cards that the chefs created with the 5 species to really engage people and excite people. And again, it's a win-win. It's a wonderful story around food. It gets people excited. Our staff are excited to tell our guests about it. We've had lots of publicity, lots of stories around it. You know, Forbes did a wonderful story on it last summer. They came and stayed here and did a story on it. So, you know, great stories around food. And the guests, it really adds value to their stay. Actually, I'm sorry it's not, oh, here. We had, this came out in Savour, I'm going to say 2 weeks ago, and this was in Bon Appetit last night. So great stories around food, and you know, it really engages the guest. A bride will come in and say, I would like to have a surf and turf, and we'd say, great, you know, and she would say, could I please have haddock and lobster? We'll say, well, the lobster is fine, but we can't give you haddock because we don't serve haddock. How about silver hake, or how about whiting? And she'll go, whiting? I don't want whiting. Well, of course, the chef cooks it for her. It's absolutely delicious. We give her the story about how we're supporting the fishing industry in Maine, how we're supporting the health of the Gulf of Maine, and they get very excited about it. It really adds to the wedding. And then they start looking for other ways that they can have a more sustainable wedding. Same thing is true with corporate groups. When you explain the story to them, they love the story. It actually adds value to their meal. So, you know, some of the other cool things that people are doing to engage people at their hotels that are getting media coverage or just are really fun and tell their green story in a wonderful way that engages people, engages the media, so that they're interested to find out what else is going on. The Rotterdam Dance Club, Club Watt, really fun. They have a floor that every time you dance, it creates electricity. They can send the electricity to lights or whatever, it actually can be used. But it's a really great way of telling your sustainable story and getting people engaged. The Aria Resort Hotel in Las Vegas has slot machines that actually create air conditioning. Every time you pull on the arm, you get this wave of AC coming at you, really engaging the guests. The Aria has 1 million buildings on property. They've got tons of LEED certified buildings, but this really is a fun way to engage the guest. The Crown Plaza in Copenhagen, exercise bikes generate electricity for the hotel. The Intercontinental Hotel in Boston and the Seaport Hotel, they both have bees. I've been down there to see their beekeeping. It's really fun. They have them on the roofs. They give people tours. They have these fall dinners, and they use the honey that you serve breakfast in the morning. Speaks about all of the other incredible things that both of these hotels have going on around sustainability. So, you know, the Meadowmere Resort in Ogunquit, I love their surf package. It donates to the Surfrider Foundation. It's very cool. Allison and company have amazing things going on. You drive in, you see that solar display as you go in. There can be no doubt that they've got a commitment to the environment. But this is really going back to where it reaches people. This is the grassroots organization that fights to preserve the beaches that we all enjoy visiting. The Proximity in Greensboro, North Carolina. This is about really supporting a museum and something that's cultural. I love this. This is really turning a story around from something really negative to really positive. The Woolworth Building, where during the Civil Rights Movement, where the students were refused service, has now been turned into a museum to celebrate how far civil rights have come. And the Proximity Hotel is supporting that museum by packaging around them. It's a wonderful thing. They've also glommed onto a huge media story because that Civil Rights Museum is getting lots of coverage. So that's a great way to connect them to this very local story. I love the Heathman in Portland. Not only do they plant trees for their guests, as part of the Friends of the Tree program, but I love the fact that this is international and that it's also going on in Vancouver on the other side of the border. And then, of course, we get back to giving back to furry things with big eyes. The Empress Hotel has this wonderful package where you go out on a whale watch, you get a bottle of organic wine, and they make a donation to the Vancouver Island Marmot Recovery Foundation. Look at that adorable thing. How could you not get into sustainability when you see him? They've got little stuffed marmots all over the place and in their gift shop, really connecting people. So here's my to-do list. You know, get the goods, engage the guest, make sure that people can find you, first of all. Remember, people have trouble finding you. Make sure that you list your green initiatives and certifications on your site. Find partners who can help you spread your green message and get the word out. Create a giving getaway for guests. Tie your Sheet and Pal program to something local that's meaningful, something that's going to give back, something to a regional icon. Sustainable tourism is about using whatever you've got going on in your little corner of the world that's unique, but that you preserve and protect it for future generations. It's okay to be profitable, but you have to share some of the profit to preserve and protect those regional icons. Again, could be a city park, could be a museum, could be tradition, could be culture, could be, you know, an endangered species, but preserve and protect. And then get on board with, you know, whatever you've got going on in terms of agriculture. People love going to farmers markets. Call your local park. A lot of parks, even in the cities, have had their budgets slashed. They really need your help marketing them. And then once you've really got a great story to connect your guest and connect the media, send those stories to Beth Harpads in a package. You have to do it 6 months out. She's with AP. It could go viral into 1 million magazines and newspapers. And I hope you're all checking Haro Leads every day. We've gotten a lot of stories from Haro. And then the collaboration piece. You know, if you can see a community need, don't be afraid to get your competitors together. Find the not-for-profit that can spearhead your efforts and really have a huge impact on something that will support your community. So that's my message, and I guess we're open for questions, and I guess I throw it back to you, Kim.
Thank you, Ronnie. We have had a few questions come in. Let's see here. Starting off with Rachel, are you on? Is there a way to make this larger so I don't have to scroll to read the whole thing? One question is about if there's a link to the Travel Market Report 2012. I'm assuming you mean on hotel websites. We do not have a link.
Yes, if you just actually, if you Google it, you can bring it up. Just Travel Market Report, Travel Trends 2012 Travel Market Report. I'm sure it will come up.
Okay, on Google. Okay.
Yeah.
Good response to that. Second question is about small hotels that are less than 50 rooms. He says they don't have much more to offer to the guests than just a place to sleep. How can smaller, limited service hotels, which may not have property, restaurants, or kitchens, engage the media or their guests?
Any hotel, no matter what size it is, can create a package that includes something that's exciting about your location. If people are staying with you, there's probably a reason they're staying with you. Tie your sheet and towel program. If you're a green hotel, you have to have a sheet and towel program, I'm sure. So tie your sheet and towel program to something that you think is important in your neighborhood, even if it's school books. It's something that you think is important that guests would engage in. Do you have a do not disturb sign? Again, it's a place to have a message around something that you're doing for your region. There's a lot of ways that you can give back no matter how tiny you are. I've had a lot of people say this kind of thing to me too when they were in cities and saying, okay, it's very easy for you because you're on the coast. You can do all of these cool, fun things. But actually, I went through this with somebody in Boston who had an Energy Star certification. He said there's nothing engaging about an Energy Star certification. People think that we're just trying to save money. And I said, sure, but you can still think of some fun thing to do that would engage the guest. And I suggested to him that he go to the Boston Art School, he get a bunch of people to come into his lobby, and from the Boston Art School, get kids from all over the nation, from Chicago, from Florida, whatever, at the Boston Art School, and build one of those Tangly machines out of recycled material in his lobby that works on kinetic energy or magnetic energy. And then you have this wonderful, engaging thing where a Boston Red Sox ball would float down, a canal and start a little beaver moving down something made out of recycled material. I love those machines. When I go to an airport and I see those machines, I miss my flights. They absolutely stop me. And then you put up a sign that says, we care about the environment and we've reduced our energy on property. This was made out of recycled material by local students to celebrate Boston, and it works on kinetic energy. It doesn't use energy, or it works on magnetic energy. It's off the grid. That's a great environmental message. That connects people to something that's fun and whimsical. You can always think of a way to have something that engages the guest, even if it's just a hotel room. You can just go out into your community and find something, or you can create something that is going to be fun and whimsical, give the media something to talk about, and for that particular one in Boston, having those kids come from Chicago and Florida, from the Boston school, that picture of them cutting the ribbon in that Boston hotel is going to go into every one of those hometown magazines, and you're going to have great media attention for that because they're going to celebrate the hometown kid doing good, at an art school, creating something sustainable that speaks to sustainability. So, I think you can use the sheet and towel program, use the do not disturbs, and go out into your community and partner with somebody to support them.
Okay, we don't have any other questions on the inbox. Ronnie, perhaps you want to finish up with that story?
Sure. I'd love to tell you a couple of stories about CSR that I think are so great. I was talking about giving getaways and people wanting to give back. It isn't just tourists that want to give back or leisure travel that want to give back. Corporate groups want to give back too because of the proliferation now of corporate social responsibility platforms that really speak to sustainable activities. And one of the great stories is, well, first I'll tell you about Share Our Strength. We were doing a Share Our Strength event in Portland last summer, and as people went by the booth picking up tastings, this was to support a fundraiser for kids in Maine who are food deprived, and apparently we have 69,000 of them, horrifying. So this was a fundraiser to get food for them. And as people went by the booth, I would chat with them, and I would say, who are you? Well, I'm with Timberland booth. I'm with Timberland. I'm with Timberland. I'm with Timberland. And finally, I said to one of them, Timberland, you're out of New Hampshire and you're in Montreal, but you're not in Portland. What are you doing here? And they said, well, we needed to have a meeting. And because of our CSR, when we have a meeting, we check places that we could possibly hold that meeting to see what not-for-profit events that we could support while we're at that meeting, and we make the decision to our location based on that. And he said it's one of the things they base it on. And he said we saw this wonderful Share Our Strength fundraiser. So our meeting starts tomorrow. We chose Portland over a place in New Hampshire or a place in Montreal because of this fundraiser. And it was recommended to all of the delegates that they fly in the night before. This was $125 a ticket. Fly in the night before and support this fundraiser. They believe in giving back to the area where they hold their meetings and to try and leave the area a little better than they found it. So that's an opportunity. It's a wonderful story about giving back. It's a wonderful story about CSR in action. But it's also an opportunity for all of us. If you get, an RFP from a group, look to see if you've got a not-for-profit the day before, the day after, or around. It may actually influence them enough that you would win that group with people who have a CSR because they want to do business with people who share their values. But I also have another terrific story that I wanted to share with you. And let's see. This was also Timberland Boot, which makes me think of it. They were going to do a big meeting for their company. So this was right after Katrina. So they decided that they would go down to New Orleans and support New Orleans. So Michelle Johnson, who was the meeting planner at that time and working within the CSR, trying to also get the meetings portion of the business involved in CSR, would always organize events to give back to the community that they had their meeting in. So after the event, because of Katrina, they worked with Habitat for Humanity, and they helped people build houses for a day. 300 of their delegates stayed and helped people build houses with Habitat for Humanity in New Orleans. Then Michelle felt that really they hadn't seen the devastation of New Orleans, really, and she wanted to see it. So she put all of her delegates on a bus, and they went down to the 9th Ward. And the 9th Ward had really been devastated. And they got on these buses, and they ended up, I'm trying to find a picture here, but I don't seem to be able to bring it up because I'd love to show you this picture. They got onto these buses, they went into the 9th Ward, and they saw a little, they walked through all of these broken buildings and bricks on the floor and broken glass and nothing, even though it had been a couple of years since Katrina, nothing much had been done. And they all got back on the buses, and they were feeling really sad and depressed about it. And then they went, one of the managers saw a little lean-to with a manager standing inside, and he was there in his flip-flops, and he went over and started to talk to him about the difficulty of getting the 9th Ward back up and running again. And he said to the fellow, he looked down at his feet, and he said, boy, you're walking around in flip-flops. It must be terrible to walk through all of this broken glass and everything in those flip-flops. And the fellow said, yes, but I don't have any shoes, I don't have any boots, and this is all I can afford. So the manager took off his Timberland boots and left them for the manager. He walked back to the bus and got on the bus, and of course everybody said to him, where are your shoes? And he told the story, and 250 people got off the bus and left boots for people in the 9th Ward. I have a fabulous picture that belongs to Michelle that I could show you, but I can't seem to bring it up. But that just, it shows you what CSR sustainable thinking does, even in the corporate realm. People love giving back. If they're given an opportunity to give back, if they're given an opportunity to really engage with the place that they're enjoying as a tourist, they love to do it. So 2 great stories about Timberland. They're a terrific company.
Okay, it looks like we're just about running out of time. Rachel, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, just, you know, I thought that was a great presentation, Ronnie, and Kim, good facilitation.
Great. Okay.
Here we go. I finally got the picture of the booths up
Sure.
in
Okay.
the men's board. So there they are. How adorable is that? Thank you.
That's a great story. A nice
Thank
positive
you.
note to finish the webinar on. Thanks everybody for attending, and we have email addresses available if you ever need to get in touch with us. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Great, thanks everyone.